New Book 1, From Then to Now, Part 34. I woke up laughing for some reason. "What's so funny, Goldie?" asked Sonia. "I don't know. Life, I guess. There is so much to it, and you never really know what is coming next in this place. Sometimes I feel so good about what is taking place, and then everything changes and becomes another question," I said, still laughing to myself. "You're not concerned about Mrs. Beacon and what she is telling others, are you?" asked Sonia. "Not at all. In a way, I have a real compassion for people like her, because I know they are still searching for the true reality in their own way. Fortunately, all religious people are not like her, or we would have a real uphill climb. I know there are those who respect the ideals of others that have their own beliefs. I can see that the various systems that have been provided here are important for those people who want them, and then there are those who are trying to find the real answers to life. What else would I do here if I didn't do this adventure? I am learning a lot within myself with each day that passes. Even though I know these things and have the knowledge, going over them again and again always gives me something that I didn't notice before. The wisdom the real guides have provided is becoming clearer within me all the time. Unfortunately, what I am realizing I cannot give to the next person. They must learn to realize it for themselves," I said. Sonia and I finally got up and decided to get out of town for the weekend and ride to the beach, and so we did. By noon we were at the ocean and looking out over the wonderful vastness. "I am so glad we decided to come here, Sonia. I have been so busy with all that has been going on that I just remembered the cat. We left him behind. He is our first child," I said, laughing out loud. "I like that idea, Goldie. I love cats like you do, and now I can think of Little Feather as our son," she said as she laughed. "And yes, our little boy will be fine. He always is. Let's walk on the beach and let the horses play in the water," I said, as we walked and talked about fun things and put the town situation somewhere else. We walked along the beach for the afternoon, and then met a Mexican family who had their small house right on the beach. Almost all Mexican families will cook for you, sometimes for free, but I like to pay them for the service they provide. They were fishermen and had plenty of fish, along with rice and beans. We stayed for several hours and talked with them, and then walked back to our horses. "This is fun, Goldie. We should do this more often," said Sonia. "I like it too. It would be fun to have a little house here right on the sand, I said. When we returned to the horses, they were in the same spot we left them. My horse said he was having a nice time too. "Let's put out the blankets, Goldie, and lay back and watch the moon come up," said Sonia. "That sounds fine. I've had quite enough walking for now, so to lie down would be good," I said, feeling a few aches here and there. We sat ourselves on the sand and lay back together. "This is the good life, Goldie. So simple. Life is simple and beautiful, all at once," she said. "I like it like this, just being and letting go of every care," I said. We laughed and watched the sun go down and the moon come up. After a while, we soon fell asleep and were at our island tree house. "I like this place even better," said Sonia as she laughed with me. "That was a fast trip here, wasn't it?" I said as I was still laughing. I wrote while she did some creative things around the tree house. I like to watch Sonia do her creativeness. She always made it fun. As I would watch her, I would sometimes wonder why so many people resist discovering the real beauty they are. Ideas that align themselves with the naturalness of life really make sense, while those that produce a distortion come to pass as a calamity. When we were through, we returned to the earth. It was early morning, and we got our things together and rode back to the city. We stopped to see Rosa on the way back. She was up in her room, sewing herself a new dress. "Hello, Rosa, we've come to see you," said Sonia as she peeked her head through the door. "Come in, you two, and sit with me," she said. Sonia gave her a hug, and we sat down. "How's everything with you, Rosa?" asked Sonia. "Oh, I'm fine. I think I met a man that likes me, and I like him. So I am making a new dress to look nice in. We are going out to dinner tomorrow. Do the two of you want to come?" she asked. "I don't want to intrude, Rosa, especially on your first date with someone," I said. "It's really okay, Sonia. It's the older son of Mr. and Mrs. Hastings. He knows about you two, and he wanted to meet you. His younger brother is in your class, and has told him about you," she said. "Well, if you don't mind, Rosa, yes, we will come," said Sonia. "Of course I want you to come. I am very nervous. He is a really nice young man, and I'm still trying to figure out what to say to him," she said, sounding rather girlish. "Rosa, you are being silly. Just be you, and you will be fine. If he doesn't like you just how you are, and I'm sure that he will, then you can make him pay for all our dinners," said Sonia, laughing. Then Rosa laughed and seemed to relax. We ate at Rosa's, and then went back to our room at the school. I wrote and Sonia got the classroom ready for the next day. Then we went to sleep. All of a sudden, I was in another gloomy place, with an overcast sky. The wind was blowing, and there were tumbleweeds rolling across the ground. There were trees scattered about, but they looked dead and had no leaves on them. I stood there because I knew who would show up, and he soon did. He was walking across the dusty ground, with the wind howling at his feet. This time he came right up to me, and stood a few feet away. I could tell he really liked this place of his. He looked at me for several moments, and then said, "You are very persistent, Indian boy, but you will soon see what I can really do," he said, as he mockingly laughed at me. I didn't say a word, but just watched as he stood there. I think he was hoping to frighten me. Then I could tell that he was becoming a little annoyed by me not saying a word. He moved his jaw back and forth, as though he wanted to say something, but then just abruptly turned and walked off. I watched him go back into the dust he came from, and then I imagined myself back in my body. It was still night, and Sonia was gone within herself somewhere. I quietly got up and had some water to drink, and then went out to the classroom. I sat at my desk and stared out the window at the evening stillness as the moon was coming up over the trees. It was a beautiful night, and so perfect to see. I liked just being with life, as it really is. The cat was sitting in the window and looking out at the night, as though he knew so much more than I ever would. The experience with the dark side didn't seem to bother me at all, as I thought about it. With all that I had been through, what was to come would be an adventure. I knew he was going to try something, which he already did with Mrs. Beacon. It seemed as though he wanted to rattle people's minds and emotions even more. I felt very capable of whatever was to come. Even if they destroyed my body, it would mean nothing, because then I would be in the other worlds, which I like better than the earth anyhow. I began to consider the old dark hombre as someone that was very lonely, and could only justify his existence by tormenting others. I went back to bed and met Sonia at the treehouse for the night, until we returned to Earth in the morning. We were up early, getting ready for the children to arrive, and they soon did. Everyone that was coming was on time as usual. After all the children were seated, I asked the class about what was taking place and how they felt. Of course, Susan spoke first. "Mr. and Mrs. Goldenwing, I am fine with what people say, and so are my parents. They attend the church. Mrs. Beacon goes to once in a while, but they are not like her. My mother knows that I have learned so much since you have been here. She says she sees the difference in me, and to her, that's all that matters. I think she is looking at herself more now, and what she knew as a little girl, because of some of the things she has said lately. Besides, I know my own mind and being, and if my parents didn't let me come and learn from you, then I would run away and live in the back of the school, she said with her firm little voice. Then the rest of the class began to laugh, and so did I and Sonia. Thank you, Susan. You remind me of me when I was growing up. Fortunately, I had parents that taught me what I am teaching you, so I didn't have to run away. I would say that what is taking place will be a good learning situation for all of us, I said. As I was about to let the next child speak, a man entered the room and waved to me to come to the back of the room and meet him. I walked over to him, and he handed me a piece of folded paper. Then he quickly left. I walked back to the front of the class, and as I did, I could tell the children were rather curious. Sonia was sitting at the desk, and I handed the paper to her while I was talking to the children. Everyone shared their views, and they were very supportive, just like Susan. It was soon lunch, and so the children went out to play, while I stayed in with Sonia to see what the piece of paper was all about. It's a summons to appear in court, Goldie. It would seem that Mrs. Beacon has filed a complaint about your teaching, said Sonia. I stood there for a moment, and could now understand what the dark side was pestering me about. I had to laugh to myself about what was taking place. I could see the adventure and challenge of what was taking place. It was okay. It would bring everything into the open. Are you concerned, Goldie? She asked. Not really, Sonia, because this situation could come out to be a real benefit. Last night I had an encounter with the dark side fellow, and he warned me as though he was trying to scare me off. But I am used to his foolishness now. It means nothing to me. This is the next step for me to get past any limitations of human considerations and how people fence themselves in. Just like Rebazartars said, I can't teach school for the rest of my life because I have to move on and do what life is, and that is to become more aware than just being a human on Earth for more lifetimes of unconsciousness, I said. I know it will be fine, Goldie. It will be our new adventure together, said Sonia, as I laughed from her comment. Of course it will be fine. This is such a small thing, even though it is a big deal to Mrs. Beacon and the others. I can see that it will be a good experience for a lot of people to wake up to, I said. We finished out the day with the children, and then we went to dinner with Rosa and her date. We met them at a restaurant in town, and Rosa's new friend introduced himself. "Hello, Sonia and Goldie. I am Robert Hastings. Please join us. It's so good of you to come," he said so politely. "Hello, Robert Hastings. I am Goldie, and this is my new wife, Sonia," I said, repeating myself and getting a laugh from everyone. We sat down and waited to see if Rosa was going to speak, and then she did. "Did anything interesting happen today at the school, Sonia?" she asked, as though she knew. "Yes, it did, Rosa. Goldie first taught the children about what they are learning from their nightly experiences, which all of them loved, of course. They are learning so much more than they ever knew. Oh, yes, there was another little matter that did come up. Goldie received a summons to a court hearing from Mrs. Beacon. It looks as though she wants to have Goldie possibly lose his teaching position from the school. I find it all so amusing, as Goldie and I laughed about it," said Sonia, with a big smile on her face. "Robert told me, Sonia. Mrs. Beacon tried to talk Robert's parents into dismissing Goldie, but they wouldn't do it. She then threatened to keep her children out of school, and he said that was fine. Then he really got upset and said she would definitely take Goldie to court, and Robert's father also, if she had to," said Rosa. "Well, it's nice to know that someone likes me. I want to thank your father for keeping me on, Robert," I said. "Actually, he wants to thank you for what you have been teaching. My father has always been interested in the mysteries of the unknown. Both of my parents have studied so many different areas of life. They have a lot of books from so many various paths and teachings, and they want to hear more about what you are teaching the children. Because of what is now happening, they will wait a while to see what comes of this court silliness," said Robert. "I thought your parents attended the local church and were part of that group, Robert," I said. "They do, because they like the people in this town. They want to get along with everyone, because he is a doctor. But they will also stand up for what they know is right for them. They will back you all the way, Goldie. Now that you have been summoned, which my dad knows about also, he is getting one of his best friends to act as your counsel, because Mrs. Beacon's husband is an attorney. He's been a lawyer for a long time, and he is like her, old and set in his ways. My dad sees no problem with the court hearing. He thinks that it will actually be good publicity for the book that you are writing. And, Goldie, my father also knows a few publishers," said Robert with a smiling face. "You have a great friend here, Rosa. You are very lucky. I can see that life will bring you many gifts, Robert. The real guides want the information I am writing to be known for everyone, I said. I knew it, Goldie. You are so taken care of by the guides. Here are real friends to help you through this situation, said Sonia as she kissed me and then hugged Rosa.